Hi, dear students. You are welcome back to EduBay Global Solution. What I will be teaching you today is Chapter 2.2, Direct Data Entry of your curriculum. Um, let's start with the card, the devices we use to read cards. This one is used to read information on the magnetic strip found at the back of credit or debit card. So this kind of card we call a magnetic strip reader, or you say stripe reader. Then we have another one here. This kind of card, it allows customers to pay up to 25 USD without typing PIN. Definitely this kind of card, we call it contactless card reader. The difference between this one and the previous one is you don't need to type PIN in this kind of card. Then another type of card we have, it is normally used at electronic fund transfer at point of sale. Then it requires typing of PIN or password, and this kind of card we call it chip reader, or you call it PIN reader, and you can say chip and PIN reader. So that is correct too. Now let's look at another data entry device. This one is RFID. RFID is one of the famous question you have in your exam. So Cambridge used to ask a lot of questions on RFID. But what you need to know here is RFID, it actually comprises of tag, then it comprises of microchip, and it comprises of antenna. You need to pay attention to this. How does it work? Well, it uses radio waves to read and capture information from a tag. Okay, so you see this is the keyword. It uses radio waves to capture data from where? From a tag. Then after that, the tag can be read from a distance of several meters, and it comprises of microchips and antenna. Take note of this. And finally, microchip is actually used to store data, and the antenna is actually used to receive and transmit data. So in summary, if someone asks you RFID, how does it work? What you need to say is RFID, it has a tag, it has microchip, it has antenna. That's one. Number two, RFID uses radio waves to capture data from a tag. So it uses radio waves to capture data from a tag. Number two, the data, the microchip data is, the data is actually stored where? In the microchip. Then it uses antenna to transmit and receive data. So these are the key information you need to know as far as RFID is concerned. Then another direct data entry device you need to know here is what we call MICR, which is Magnetic Ink Character Reader. And basically, this one is a device which can read a character printed in a special ink, magnetic ink character reader. All right. Then another thing, and there is one more thing here. As far as magnetic ink character reader is concerned, it's normally used to read data at the bottom of a check. Okay, don't forget that. Then we have another one which is called OMR, optical mark reader. Is a device we use to read marks written in pen on pencil, and of course that's what we use OMR for. Then another device here is optical character reader. It can be software, it can be hardware. So it converts scan text into a computer readable form. So don't forget that. It's being used in many applications. So this OCR, it is normally used in passports. If you've seen some passport before, you will see there is a kind of something like a chip in a passport. Then the device you can use to read the information on a passport, on the chip in a passport. So that device, it has OCR, optical character reader. Now, then another one we have is a device used to read information in the form of a barcode. Of course, that one is a barcode reader. Then the full meaning of QR code is quick response. And this one is QR code. It's actually made up of matrix of field in dark square on a light background. All right. Now let's look at some differences. And this is a past year question, by the way. What's the major difference between OMR, MICR, then barcode, as well as chip reader? Which of these devices is used to read debit card? So that should be chip and pin reader. Which one we use to read the information at the bottom of a bank check? That should be MICR. Then which one is used to read candidates' responses for multiple choice question? That should be optical mark reader. And finally, a barcode is used to read a label on a can of soap. Now, another question is, dash is a device used to input a pin. What is that? That should be numeric keypad. Then analyzes and execute a program line by line. That's an interpreter. This interpreter, pay attention to this, is an application software. It is not a system software. It's an application software. Compiler is a system software, but this interpreter is an application software. Then produces output in the form of solid object. This is 3D. And finally, produce output in the form of sound. This is speaker. And the last thing here is select the names of 3 devices which are used for input devices: mouse, touch screen, then remote control. All right, so this is just a very short subtopic. Now let's look at some past year question. I have a couple of questions here. Activity 2.1, 2.2.1. All right, this one says all these activities are actually past year question. It says select the most appropriate device for reading the details from the following media. What is that? Debit card. What device do we use to read information on a debit card, to read the data on a debit card? Chip and pin reader. Bank checks is very similar to the previous question. That should be magnetic ink character reader. Candidate response for multiple choice. That is optical mark reader. And finally, this is barcode check. The next question. Shopping often requires the use of a credit card. Select 3 methods of reading the data from the credit card. Basically, we can use chip reader, we can use magnetic strip reader, and we can use entering the PIN number of the credit card. Then another question here. Answers to multiple choice examination paper can be read using optical mark reader. Yes, this is correct. Then another question. MICR reads the information on the credit card. No. MICR, we use it to read the data at the bottom of a check, so not on a credit card. Then the chip on a credit card is read by a pin reader. Yes, this is correct. And finally, an RFID chip can be used to track stock. Yes, we use it to track things. Then I have another question here, 2.2. This is a past year question too. Select 3 devices that will be used at an EFT POS terminal in a supermarket. Well, when you go to supermarket, what are the 3 devices they normally use? You will see the chip reader, you see the barcode reader, then you see keypad over there, right? These are the three devices they normally use. Then data from a bank card is input using what? Bank card. We use chip reader. Data from a product in a supermarket, we use data from a robot in a supermarket is input using chip reader. Data from a supermarket, basically this is supposed to be barcode reader, by the way, but for some reason, so I think there is a mistake here. I have to correct this later. Then data from a check is input using MICR. And finally, fixing wheels to a car on a production line, so we use a robot for that. Let me see if it is correct. The next question here: when a book is borrowed, the borrower presents the book and library card to the librarian. Select two advantages of using different input devices by the librarians. Okay, this one is an essay question, by the way, but I put it in an interactive way in a multiple choice. So you can choose what are the two advantages of using different input devices by the librarian when you borrow a book. Well, continuous use of mouse or keyboard can cause RSI, but touch screen does not cause this. This one is disadvantages, basically. Then if data is typed in using a keyboard or touch screen, then this could lead to more input error. This one is disadvantages as well. Barcode reader is more accurate when entering data than keyboard. This is an advantage. Then barcode reader or touch screen are quicker to enter data than using the keyboard or mouse. This is an advantage too. So when you see this kind of question, the question asks you to do advantages and disadvantages. These are the responses. Then this one says printing on a multi-part stationery. What kind of printer we use for this? This should be dot matrix printer. We are going to talk about this in 2.3 in output devices. Reading information from the front of bank card. That should be pin reader. Then making file server backup, that should be magnetic tape. And finally, to read data from a product, that should be barcode. And the last question is reading data from a bank check, that's MICR. You see, this is a very famous question in Cambridge. They always ask this question. Reading data from candidate exam, that's optical mark reader. Inputting data ready for processing by a word processor, that is OCR. And inputting pencil mark data from a school register, that's OCR as well. All right. So then in my next video, I'm going to make another video on output devices. I want to dedicate this holiday time to make as many videos as possible for you. And you can come to my website as well. So courses.edube.com. Then you can have access to all our courses here. Some of them are free, while some of them you need to subscribe. So see you in my next video. Bye.